Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Locke.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Yes, serving my country, I think, was a very important element of my life. I enjoy the military. I had a good time and I had challenges, many challenges to be exact. However, it was an experience, and it was an experience that affected my life in good ways and not so good. In 1968, I was married in February. Karen and I had a beautiful wedding, and we thought we were on our way to a great life together. Well, only a few months later, I got a notice that said, "Greetings, and Uncle Sam wants you." There was no lottery back then. It was a letter that you got that said you were going to be drafted, and that was it. So I went off to the Army. Fort Polk, Louisiana was the place. "Welcome, soldier, to the United States Army. Stand proud." Sure, that's the first thing we saw. This sign was where the bus stopped and let us off. And I'm telling you, when we saw that sign, right next to it was the drill sergeant. Now, don't think for 1 minute that I took this picture when I got off the bus. I found this picture on the internet. I had no camera, and boy, I'll tell you, that drill sergeant wasn't going to wait around for me to take a picture either. However, Fort Polk, Louisiana, we had some other names for it. However, if you look at this picture here, look way up at the top in the center, that's about where my barracks were, all the way at the south end of the fort. We were kind of isolated as well. However, that was where we lived at, and that's where we spent most of our time. Yes, check him out. That was me at about 20 years old. Can you believe it? A young buck just going into basic training, and boy, not knowing a darn thing about it. However, these were the buildings we lived in. Now, these buildings were put up back in around 1942 for World War II training. I'm telling you, they were old, but they were clean. I'll bet you could walk in this building with a white glove and drag it across the floor and not get a piece of dirt on it. Those buildings were well taken care of by us, the guys that lived there. Well, after basic training, which was only 8 weeks, we went to a place called Tigerland. This was North Fork in Fort Polk. And Tigerland was supposed to be advanced infantry training. Now, advanced, can you imagine going into advanced training after only having 8 weeks of regular training? I didn't quite understand what they were going to do with advanced, but that was their concept. Yes, we had the same barracks that we stayed in. The only thing different was we were a little bit huskier. When I actually was drafted, I think I weighed about 130 pounds. By the time I got done with basic, I was about 160 pounds. So they put a little bit of meat on me also. Still, though, I was about 20 years old. And well, can you imagine this guy defending your freedom? I don't know. We had to learn a lot. After that, I went to Fort Benning. Now, Fort Benning was quite a different type of training. It incorporated some tactical training, and it incorporated some leadership development. I spent about 6 months in that program, and after that, it was, well, off to you know where, Vietnam. Now, that might look like a nice place to go camping, but I'm telling you, it was out in the sticks. And that's how we lived. I used to set my poncho liner up as a little bit of a hammock because laying on the ground back in that place was not really the thing you wanted to do. This is some of the guys that I was with. Now, if you look in that back row, standing up there, second from the left, yep, that's moi. Does that still look like me? Well, I don't know. The hair is a little different shade, but this was one of my squads. And some of those guys were some of the best ones. I'll tell you, that talk about having your back. Some of these guys I speak to even this day. So they're a great bunch of guys. There's also, this is on bunker guard. Yep, you guessed it. That's a 50 caliber machine gun, loaded and ready to go. All you got to do is push the button there where the thumbs are. But that was it, a 50 caliber. Those were nice too. They'd keep you safe when you used them. Now here I am ready to hit the airfield and go out on a CA. I've got my M79 grenade launcher, one of the nicest weapons I carried over there. And I used to just really rely on that as something that would help me come back. Blackjack, this was one of the helicopter companies that supported us. When we saw those helicopters, that was our ride home, and they took us out also. So we did a lot on helicopters all the time. This is another one of our platoons. This was the 3rd platoon. These guys were a great bunch. Look at the one right in the middle, the short kid there. That kid's only 18 years old. Can you imagine being out there and being expected to serve your country at that age? Unbelievable. Another group of the guys that I served with. And there I am, ready to go. Well, it's been a great time. I had a good time, and I'm glad I came back. I served my country, and I'm here to serve you, Madam Toastmaster.